So AB 131, the second part of the California Dream Act. This was signed into law on October 8, 2011, again, Governor Brown. And this essentially allows AB 540 students to qualify for Cal Grants. The requirements, again, classified as an AB 540, GPA and income requirements. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences in the Cal Grants as I understand it, and maybe they can help me out.
I'll help you.
So there's two parts to them, one of them being entitlement and the second one competitive. In the entitlement, what they look at is GPA. So I'm not sure what the GPA is or
It
what.
changes depending on the pool each year,
Okay.
but it's at least a 3.0 for Cal Grant A. Cal Grant B, it's a 2.0.
There you have it. And there's also an income requirement, right?
Income and assets.
Income and assets, yeah. So and depending on how much how much money comes into your household, you'll be awarded this money. So this part of the DREAM Act does not take effect until 2013.
131, there is no application yet. The California Student Aid Commission has been pretty much, they're the ones that are responsible to create this application. And the rumors that we're hearing from people inside that are working for CSAC is that it's going to be called the Dream Scholarship Application or the Dream Application, keeping it simple. And it's going to be FAFSA-like. It's going to look like a FAFSA application because most of Cal Grants are awarded through, you apply, you don't apply for a Cal Grant, you apply for FAFSA and then you receive Cal Grant through your FAFSA. But because undocumented, the FAFSA requires Social Security number, then undocumented students cannot apply. But with 131 opening it up for undocumented students and any AB 540 student, which includes documented student, you need a different application for those that are undocumented because they don't have a Social Security.
Beyond the DREAM Act, a few years ago, Pedro here was a senator for the student government here on campus, and while he was there, he was still able to actually get paid through the associate students. Yeah, but that was the last year that they paid him, and they only paid him in gift cards, right? $50 gift cards, I believe, something like that. But after his year, I think somebody complained about why AB 540 students were allowed this money, and so they pretty much blocked it off. But this law was passed that now allows undocumented students again to receive that money that is given to the student government. So that's AB 844, and AB 176 is another one that I'm gonna read it off. As it says, it says, as of January 2012, test sponsors must provide an alternative option of ID method to show to a student who does not have government-issued identification to prove his/her identity as standardized tests. Right, so we have tests like the GREs that require government-issued identifications, but some of the undocumented students don't have these IDs. So I guess they're gonna enforce something that allows them to accept something else besides government-issued ID. I remember when I took my upper division writing exam here. That's one of the tests that asks for a government-issued ID, and I had my passport, which is government-issued. But the day of the test, this made me a little angry because they go up in rows and they check your IDs, and the lady checked mine. And one of the things that angered me the most is that she was Raza, right? She was my kind, and she looked. I actually have my passport, and I'll show you. She was like this. She opens my passport, and she looks at it really detailed and starts looking around it. She almost bit it, I think, to see if it was ready. No, she yeah. So she didn't. I don't know if she didn't believe that it was legitimate. So she actually goes to someone on the front and asks, like, can we accept this? right? And I was very offended. I was like, really, this is happening? Like, I paid for this exam too. Like, I can't believe you're doing this to me, right? So I mean, hopefully something like this will not stop this, because it really angered me, right? And it could be discouraging for the students, right?
And the language for that bill, that particular bill, is really general. It doesn't state what test. It just says any test that will get you, like for admission, because so like the MCAT, the LSAT, those type of exams for postgraduate. But it's broad.
Know your rights page. Admissions cannot be denied on the basis of your status. So the institution has no right to ask you about if you're legal, not legal. It is not required to show a federal or state administration or social security to admission into California college, pretty much the same thing, and not required to show any proof of legal residency. So there's a slide that I deleted from there that I probably shouldn't have, because I had some advertising that I didn't want but what is other ways to fund your education? One of them is connecting with other students who are AB 540, right? I personally work with the Dreams Alliance, with AB 540 initiative here on campus, and they provide scholarships for undocumented students. Recently, during the Muñiz luncheon, the Dream Alliance gave $3,000 scholarships, right? So that's good money. Also, speak with professors from your department. They like to help out. Dreams to be Heard gets a lot of help from the Chicano Studies department. And of course, speak with college support groups like Dreams to be Heard. The AB 131 passed, but there are people out there, people who are against this, and so we do have Tim Donnelly, who is gathering petitions to put AB 131 in the ballot, right? His arguments is that undocumented folks don't pay taxes, that the money, it's going to take away money from citizens, right, from U.S. citizens. But we got to get the facts straight, right? So these are some of the facts that argue what Tim Donnelly says. California Dream Act would only benefit 1% of the student body population in California. 70% of people that qualify for in-state tuition on the AB 40 are citizens or legal immigrants. These are the same students that would benefit under the California Dream Act. So, as I mentioned earlier, AB 540 does not only mean undocumented students, right? It also means that there is legal citizens in AB 540. So, like Tim Donnelly says that it puts aside legal citizens. That's not correct. 70% of them are legal citizens, right? Our states and our nation's economy will be stronger with education and highly skilled workforce, right? So we definitely need this for undocumented students. California will benefit from this.
People ask, like, how is it that U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents consider themselves or qualify under AB 540? Like, doesn't that mean it's only for undocumented students? Because in the application, the affidavit, that ugly paper that I then didn't know how to fill out, that one, it also, like, it states there, like, if you are undocumented and will you fix your status, you write, you sign this document or whatever, right? But there's an option there where it tells you, you have to identify yourself. Are you undocumented or not? But it's kind of tricky as to how the way it asks you. It asks you, are you a non-immigrant or are you not a non-immigrant? Trick question, of course. And it's the, I am not a non-immigrant, the one that if you're undocumented. But if you are documented, then you put, I am a non-immigrant alien. So you're not an immigrant alien, you're just an alien. Which means that you're a U.S. citizen, legal permanent resident, or someone holding a visa, right? But, so with that already, in that document, you're not lying, you know? So you're a legal permanent resident applying this, why? Why would you be applying as a legal permanent resident or a U.S. citizen for AB 540? It's in-state tuition, you want to get in-state tuition? So people who move out, so people who went to high school here for 3 or 4 years, which fulfills the requirement of AB 540, they go to another state and they're living with, I don't know, family members, whatever situation, right? They're in another state, let's say Texas. And then they decide, I want to go to college, but I don't want to go to college here in Texas. So they moved back to California, and so that they won't have to wait 1 year and 1 day to be able to apply as or get their residency as Californians again. That's the limit. You have 1 year and 1 day you have to wait. You just apply under AB 540 and you get in-state tuition as opposed to paying out-of-state tuition, because the AB 540 form now makes you eligible for in-state tuition, and as opposed to paying out-of-state tuition for 1 year, which would be here at CSUN would be like 15 grand as opposed to the 6-7 grand that we pay for the year. So that's how we get that 70% of LPRs and U.S. citizens being AB 540. One thing that we're doing, Tim Donnelly, the assembly member, as we're doing, as I'm part of Dream City Heard as well, is that we're doing these teach-ins like right now as to what is the California Dream Act and what really is it, right? He's gathered about 100,000 petitions. He needs 500,000 by January 6th to put it on the ballot, and so this is one way to educate ourselves, but there's more that to be done, like actually confront, like educating wherever they are at, because their people, for Tim Donnelly, are spreading anger, hate, right? Oh, we're calling this the Nightmare Act. It's keeping our kids out of school. But what if we're there saying otherwise, saying maps, or not confronting the petition gatherers because it might get a little intense, but actually speaking to the people who might sign the petition, since they're outside of Ralph's, Walmart, wherever. What if we're talking to those people before they do, right? We'll be like, here's the facts, and they're saying otherwise, but you have a more educated decision to make now than you.
131 that goes into effect on January 1st, 2013. For Cal Grants, that means you can turn in the application for the next fall, so it's not getting, at this point, not getting money in spring 2013. There's also 2 other funds through the CSU that you will be eligible for. The EOP grant and the State University grant. It's not decided yet whether that will be available for spring 2013 or again applying in 2013 for fall 2013. We'll keep your organization updated as that information develops. But again, that probably will be using that application that Cal Grants are going to be using. We'll use the same one for State University grant and for EOP grant. So that's 2 more funding sources that will be available.
Students are going to be able to become part of EOP?
Right.
Of the program or of the grant?
Well, you actually have to be in the program to get the grant. So I can't speak for EOP if they are opening their program. I suspect that Jose Luis would want to open the program. But again, we're part of a system, so campuses can't go off on their own, and so the system has to figure out what all the campuses are going to do. I'm only involved in the financial aid conversations.
So I'm sorry, roughly when would those applications be for the 131?
The Student Aid Commission is developing an application. That's what they're working on. They also will have to design a system to take all that information and spit out what is comparable to an EFC on the federal side. Ironically, there used to be this same process in California. It was called a SAC, the Student Aid Application for California, when I first started working in financial aid. And they did have all their technology geared up to handle that application. But then when the federal government said, no, let's do one for the whole country, that got dropped. So essentially we're going back to where we were 20, 25 years ago. But they got to build the system again. So, they're working on it. We're working on it in the CSU. Information is just developing, and all we can do is keep people informed as we know what's going on. I just want students to know that there are other funding sources that they're going to be eligible